Welcome to the Overweighted Podcast, where we get real about the struggles of being obese and needing to lose a whole lot of weight. My name's Malaika. I'm your host, weight loss mentor and coach. Join me on my personal weight loss journey to lose about 200 pounds, and as I share my very real experiences, plus some simple, successful, and sustainable weight loss tips and mindset shifts so that we can mark lose weight off of our to-do list for good. So I want to apologize for last week. I wasn't able to upload an episode because I live here in Florida in the United States, and we had a little big visitor called Hurricane Ian. So I had to evacuate and everything, and I want to say all praise goes to the Lord, because our home, which is 102 years old, withstood the storm. We didn't have any damage to our home whatsoever. We only had damage done to our fence, which is really old and raggedy outside. So thank God we're safe and our home is safe. And I'm thankful for that. And I know that not everyone made it out so easily. So keep Florida and the residents in prayer as we continue to clean up from the storm and people are getting their power back and repairing damage that may have happened to their homes. And also comforting the loved ones of anyone who may have lost someone due to the storm. So keep your Florida family and friends in prayer. So I wanted to talk this time about how I stopped my sweets habit that I have, or how I pulled out my sweet tooth, because I always said I had a sweet tooth. And in the last episode, I talked about how I kicked my soda habit. So I wanted to really talk about how I kicked my sweets habit this time, because if you remember in that particular episode, I talked about how I was drinking so much soda and then I had a sweet every single day. And I'm at the point now where that's not the case. So that was two of the main things that I had to kind of get rid of or replace with healthier habits when I started this health journey. So hopefully by hearing how I changed my sweets habit and stopped eating sweets every day, hopefully it'll give you some tips to help you. And if you've ever listened to any episode before, you know that I'm not about cutting out any particular food groups or anything. And I do still eat sweets, but I do want to say that even though it's not a habit anymore, it doesn't mean it's not an addiction. So the sugar addiction is still there. So I still have to be really careful with that, but I just don't have the habit of having that sweet every single day. So back in that episode about kicking my soda habit, I mentioned how when I first started this journey this time around, I decided that for 2 weeks I would have no soda and no sweets, just to basically prove it to myself that I could do it. And so that was the first thing I did. I didn't have any sweets for the first 2 weeks of this weight loss journey when I decided to start again. And one of the things I was doing before that is I would go to the grocery store pretty much every day, because I'm really mood driven as far as what I want for my meals for the day. So I really wouldn't shop ahead of time for the whole week. I would just go to the store, buy what I wanted to cook or eat for that day, and then have it. And by going to the grocery store every day, our particular grocery store, they have these individual slices of birthday cake that they sell, and they are so good. And so every time I would go to the store, I would get a slice of the birthday cake. And so I was going to the store every day, so I was having the birthday cake every day. And so I would have that dessert every single day. And then there were even some days where I would want something a little bit later. And so I would go late in the evening and go to the convenience store and then usually get like an ice cream cookie sandwich. That was really my thing at that time. So some days I would have 2 sweets or 2 desserts for the day. So I decided that was something big that I needed to change and I needed to replace with a healthier habit. And so I decided that for 2 weeks, I was going to have no sweets along with no soda. And again, it didn't mean I wasn't going to have it ever again. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. So That was the first thing I did. I didn't have the sweets for the 2 weeks. And after that 2 weeks, I did go back to having sweets again, but I wasn't having them every day. So one of the things that I decided I needed to change was I needed to stop going to the store every day because I needed to change that habit, which would just trigger me to have the sweets. So I had to recognize that that was something that was really impacting what I was doing because it just basically was a habit at that point. Go to the store, grab the sweet. So I had to stop going to the store every single day. So one of the things that really helped me was to start planning out my meals for the week. And I'm still really mood driven, so I wouldn't necessarily plan out like I'm gonna have this thing on this day and this thing on that day. I would just plan out an idea of different meals that I would want throughout the week, and then depending on what I felt like I wanted that day or maybe the night before, if I had to take it out of the freezer, then I would do that. So that way I still have flexibility with what I was eating each day, but it gave me a little bit more of a plan so that I was only going to the store once or twice a week instead of every day. And I would still get the sweets at that time when I was going to the store because I hadn't, completely breaking that sweets habit yet. But that was one of the things that really helped me with lessening how often I was having the sweets, was changing that habit of going to the store every day. And then I got to a point where when I went to the store, I would redirect myself so that I wouldn't walk near the cake. And so that really helped me out a lot because I wouldn't go over in that section. I wouldn't walk by the bakery section of the store. And that way it wouldn't that habit wouldn't creep in and then I grabbed that piece of cake. So once I got to a point where I was ready to stop eating the cake every week, I was like, okay, I'm not going to walk by it. So that way it won't trigger me. I won't smell it. I won't see it, and I won't be tempted to grab it. And one of the things that I did that would help me with not eating the sweets or not eating the cake really every day is that I started looking for other things that I could eat instead of that. And like I said, the cake and then really the ice cream cookie sandwiches were really big things for me. So I found alternatives, like obviously fruit was going to be something that was sweet for me to help with that sweet tooth. And I really love fruit, so I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything by having fruit. And also I found these lower calorie ice cream bars that I could have that were really tasty and they were less calories. So that way it would still help me with my weight loss goal. So I could have my sweet and then still lose weight too. So finding things that helped me still satisfy the sweet tooth, but not necessarily the really high calorie options that I was having before, was something else that helped me with breaking that sweets habit. Also, like I kind of mentioned back in the soda episode, when I stopped drinking so much soda and was drinking more water, that helped me to eat less sweets because I realized one of the things when I was drinking the soda is that it would trigger me to want more sweets because of, the high sugar content in soda. So basically my body would be on the sugar high and I would just want more sugar throughout the day. So that just prompted me to eat more sweets. So just having less soda and more water was another thing that helped me with not having that cake or the ice cream cookie sandwiches every single day. So that helped me break that habit. Another thing was just not bringing it into the house in general. So again, I wasn't getting the cake as often, so I wouldn't have it. Or if I really just didn't want to eat as much sweets, then I just wouldn't bring it into the house. And that's something else that might work for you. If, say, your thing is that you really love to eat chocolate chip cookies, well, don't bring the chocolate chip cookies into the house if you know they're going to be a trigger for you. So leave them at the store, and then that way, if you have to get up and go to the store to get the cookies, it gives you all these opportunities to tell yourself, nope, I don't need it. Now, if it's something where you're craving it and then it might trigger you to binge later, then I'm always going to say have it, because you definitely don't want to get in that situation where you're trying to restrict yourself and then binge later. But sometimes it's just habit, like it was with me with the sweets. And so just by not having it there in your house, it's less chance of you having that thing. Because sometimes you just get the cookies and you reach for the cookies because the cookies are there. Right? So I hope that makes sense. So just not bringing it into the house is another way that can help you to break that sweets habit. And it was something that also worked for me. And it was something that I had to eventually do even with the lower calorie replacements that I had found for myself. Because what happened is that I found at one point that I would start off just maybe eating one of the bars, which was only like 100 calories or so. But eventually I would end up getting to a point where I was eating like 3 or 4 of them in one day. And so that still was even less calories than that one piece of cake that I was eating. But I realized at that point, like I said, even though it wasn't the same sweets habit that I had, it was still an addiction for me. So I had to not have that stuff in the house. And I still do eat sweets, but like I said, I don't bring them in the house. I may have them like if I go out to eat or something like that, then I might get a dessert there. Every once in a while, I might go to the convenience store and get myself some ice cream, but it's nowhere near as much of the habit or like the strong addiction that it was before. And so one of the things I found that has really been key in helping me this year with not having sweets and kind of breaking that stronghold that it had is that in January, I started not having sweets for the first 7 days of each month. So I would kind of like fast off sweets. And I mean, it's not biblical fasting because biblical fasting would be not having any food at all, but as a way to deny my flesh and help to break that stronghold or that addiction, I decided that for the first 7 days of the month, I wouldn't have any sweets. And so I did that for about the first 6 months of this year, and that really helped me a lot to, like I said, really just kind of deny my flesh and just prove to myself that I didn't have to have that thing and that I could say no even when my body was just kind of crying out for the sweets, because I could do other things, right? Like I said, I could have fruit instead if I wanted to have fruit, or I could drink some water or eat something that was healthier for me. So not having the sweets for the first 7 days of each month was really key for me in breaking that sweet addiction that I had. So that was just a few of the things that I did to help myself kick that sweets habit that I have. And not drinking as much soda, not eating as much sweets has really been key for me in losing the over 70 pounds that I have lost so far on my journey. And one of the biggest things for me is that, like I said, it's not so much about restricting and not having the soda ever or not having the sweets ever. It's really more about just like the personal challenge of not having it and proving that I don't have to have it, because we don't want to get to a point where the food or the sweets or whatever has power over us. We have power over it. And so me getting to this point where I don't need it like I used to is really key for me. And I'm just really proud of myself for getting to this point. And I know that if I could do it, you can do it too. And if you are a woman that has over 50 pounds to lose and maybe you struggle with a sweet tooth and you want some support, some accountability, or some encouragement on your weight loss journey, then join me inside of Transformation Tribe. You can join me for free in there at malaikaburley.com/network. And of course, the link is in the show notes as well. I would love to have you in there and cheer you on in your journey. And also, I have a free challenge that's going to be starting up here soon to close out the year strong. So you want to join us in there for that as well. And I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you got any value out of this or something just really resonated with you, can you do me a favor and leave a review? It helps others find the show so that it could help them too. Also, I'd love to connect with you on other platforms. I'm Malaika Burley on IG and YouTube. And go grab my free webinar, The 5 Keys to Simple, Successful, and Sustainable Weight Loss at malaikaburley.com. And of course, all of those links are in the show notes. Thanks again and have a blessed day.